Good. Good to see you walking around. Show us your neighborhood.
No, I'm in my university's campus. It's our campus.
And
Not
which
really
which
the
campus are you on? Tell everybody.
my uni.
Tell them the name of your campus, your university.
It's Al Akhawan University in Ifran, in Morocco.
Okay. I think we're just waiting for Lisa and Yijit to join us.
Hi. EJ's on.
Oh, good, good. Lisa, she'll be when she as soon as she comes on, I'll just add her. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. There's people. There's somebody that just walked behind Aseneth. I bet that was Steven. Is he trying
Yeah,
to?
that was Steven.
Yeah. Hey, Steven. He's getting you hooked up. Um,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for accommodating the change in time. We want to make sure that, especially leading up to the conference, that we get as much communication with you as possible. Your role is very important in all of the work that we're doing with Pitzer College and Girls Fly, and we want to make sure that it's valuable for you as well. We had a really rich conversation earlier with Lisa Tenner, and Lisa will be joining us. But we also have as a really special, I don't know if I should call you a guest or not, but she is here visiting with us for the first time. But she has such an instrumental role in putting our curriculum together, and that's Trisha Morgan from Pitzer College. So, Trisha, before you talk, let me have everyone from Morocco introduce themselves, and then we'll have everyone from Kyrgyzstan introduce themselves. And if you're not with Morocco or Kyrgyzstan, then you can introduce yourself afterwards, okay? So let's start with the young ladies from Morocco. If you'll give us your name, the name of your university, and um, give us something that people don't know about you that, if they really knew, they'd know this. And help. You can mute your mic unless you're speaking. That would be helpful for background sounds. Thank you. Okay, we'll start with you, Rehab.
Okay.
Okay.
So, hi everyone. My name is Rehab. I study in Al Akhawan University in Morocco. So this is my third video call with Girls Fly. Sorry I couldn't make it last week because I was busy with something else. Um, I think one thing people don't know about me, it's a bit hard because I'm very active online and I keep on talking about my interests and sharing stuff about them all the time. But I am very engaged in all matters regarding social justice and social and cultural and religious issues in my country and in the entire MENA region. But I am all for inclusion and I would love to get to know social, cultural, and religious issues from other countries and other regions in the world, which is why I was very excited in being part of the Kyrgyzstan video call. And I got a bit scared because I googled the time zones and it was already past 11 p.m. right now, and I was like, "Oh man, I missed the phone call." So I'm very happy to be with you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're so glad that you're here. It's good to see you. Next from Morocco. The other,
Um,
yeah,
I don't know. Is the other rehab on here?
Yes,
she's on,
yes.
and Mina's on.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
At Morocco, and this is my first year. I'm majoring in computer science. Uh, what I found very interesting about Girls Fly is that all the members are only girls and from different parts of the world, so that I will have different ideas, and I will discover other interests. So this was one of the main reasons why I wanted to be a part of this small community. Uh,
Yeah, and then we just had Safa join us right now. Do you want to introduce yourself, Safa?
Thank you, Rehab, for sharing
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm, I'm sorry. I lost the connection. So that is it.
Thank you so much, Rehab, for sharing that. Thank you. We're glad to see you.
Thank you.
Safa, Jeannie was asking if you would introduce yourself.
Of course. Hi everyone. I'm so happy to see you again, and I'm so happy to meet the other people from Krygyzstan. I don't know if I pronounced that country right, but anyways, let me introduce myself. My name is Safa. I am from Morocco. I am a second year university student at Akhawain, and I am majoring in engineering and management science. And I'm looking forward for a fruitful discussion with all of you today.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Okay, Jeannie, who's up next?
Those are the three that will be joining us for the call.
Well, let's have the ladies from Kyrgyzstan introduce themselves, please.
Hello, everyone. This is Latifa, and I'm studying in American University of Central Asia in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. And I'm majoring in economics and studying some business classes. And it's really nice to see you all.
And hello, everyone. My name is Nina, and I'm also studying at American University of Central Asia in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. I am studying international and comparative politics as my major, and I am minoring in human rights. So I hope to have a really nice conversation tonight, as we had before as well. And I'm really excited about tonight's discussion.
Hello everyone, I'm Simin. I'm also studying in American University of Central Asia. I'm majoring in economics. I hope we will have a good conversation.
So hello everyone, this is Hanifa Yari. I'm also from Afghanistan, studying in UCA, American University of Central Asia. I'm a third year student studying economics, and it's great to see you all here today.
I think that's it overseas. How about we'll go with Asenath, and then Asenath, you can tell them why you're on, and then the young ladies from Pitzer, and then we'll go right into you, Tricia, and then we'll hopefully Lisa will join us in a moment. Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm Asenath, and I'm helping with the social media for Girls Fly. I've had the privilege of working with Gail Sylvia and partnering with her on this with some of the conferences in the past and things like that. So yeah, so I just wanted to get to know you guys and see what's going on with the leadership stuff. One thing that would be really helpful on the social media end is if you guys could like post in the chat your Instagram IDs so we could follow you and tag you and stuff. That would be super great.
Hi, I think I met all the girls like from Kyrgyzstan and Morocco before. So I'm Yijie. I work at the Pitzer College Community Engagement Center with Trisha. So this year, like we have 25 interns like Phoebe, and we have several of others like interns working with different countries, and also work on like offsite with some like finance and with like weekly lesson plan with local high school in Pomona. So yeah, I'm really happy to see like all of our girls like joining this this call from like different places. Oh, hi, Phil.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
How are
Yeah,
you?
really happy to see all of you guys joining this call. Yeah, I look forward to the next conference.
But I'm still waking I thought I'll be done by 2 hours, but I'm still on. I'm working on my master's proposal.
Tell us the name tell us what your master's about.
There is someone's line that's not clear and making some sound. I don't know from where.
Hi everyone. I'm Phoebe. I am currently a third year studying at Pitzer College, and I'm studying science and management with a focus on public health. And yeah, I'm a Girls Fly intern this year, and it's my first year. And I'm so happy to join you guys on this call. Nice meeting you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeannie. I've been fortunate enough to be able to talk with the girls at AUI with Morocco university students. I also go to Pitzer College and I'm a first year.
Thank you, Jeannie. So you, Trisha.
Hi everybody.
Till Lisa comes on, okay?
I'm so excited. Oh, wait, has everybody gone?
I think everybody's
Okay.
gone. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm so excited to meet you all. I wanted to share a little bit about myself to just help you all get to know me a little bit more and tell you a little bit about how Gail and I started working together and kind of dreaming about the possibilities that are happening right now with all of you in these calls and with the great support of our interns like Jeannie and Phoebe and Ija. So I'm excited to be able to talk with all of you. As Gail mentioned, my name is Trisha Morgan. I'm the managing director of the Community Engagement Center at Pitzer College. For some of you may know that Pitzer College has a very strong social justice and social responsibility emphasis. So that's something that's very important to our students. And also to the mission of the college and the work that we do in the Community Engagement Center. So some of what we do at the Community Engagement Center is work with community-based organizations on a variety of social justice related projects and initiatives and partnerships. So we work with several people who are incarcerated currently, trying to help them access critical justice education capabilities. We also work with day labor partnerships, so folks that are working on issues related to immigration and labor in particular. And also, several other programs, too many to name, but they're really, really amazing programs. And so we've gotten to be able to meet and work with wonderful partners like yourself. So that's just a little bit about the Community Engagement Center. But I wanted to tell you a little bit more about me and my journey. So I am the youngest of 7 children. I grew up about 8 miles from the colleges, the Claremont colleges. I didn't know that the Claremont colleges or that Pitzer College, even what they were, that they existed, what wonderful colleges they were, even though I lived so close to them. I didn't have a lot of people in my family who knew or understood how to get into college, how to apply to college, how to make college work for them. So a lot of my journey has been figuring a lot of things out for myself, finding a lot of the people along my journey that really could help me and that could, help me figure out the ways that I needed to move forward. So my family was pretty low income. We didn't have a lot of money. I ended up getting into a little bit of trouble when I was in high school. Even though I was a really smart student, I made some choices that led me down a path that made things a little bit more challenging for myself as well. So by the time I was 23 years old, I had been married, I had 2 children, and I was already divorced by that time. I was supporting my whole family on my own. I was working a lot, but I really began to feel that there was something inside of me that was pulling me and calling me toward completing my education, and figuring out what it was that I could be doing for myself and for my family. So I was lucky enough to have somebody who, helped me get into our local community college. They also counseled me through which classes to take and where I could even go after community college. So that's when I found out about Pitzer. Pitzer has a program called the New Resources Program for students who are age 25 and older. They've since lowered the age, so now it's 23 and older. But when I applied to Pitzer, I had my kids were about 3 and 4. And so I had done really well in community college for the very first time. And I started to think like, wow, maybe I could get my bachelor's degree. Maybe I could keep going to college and keep doing this. So I was able to apply to Pitzer. I got into Pitzer. I really didn't know when I applied, how great the Claremont colleges and Pitzer College was. I had a lot of challenges when I first started going to school there related to not feeling like I was good enough, not thinking that I was smart enough, that I was prepared enough to be there. So I really doubted myself. And there were times that I wasn't sure that I was even in the right place or on the right path. What made a huge difference for me was having people in my life, professors in particular, Professor Kathy Yep, who is one of our professors at Pitzer College. She's a professor of Asian American Studies and of sociology. And she was my advisor when I was a student. So she really helped me stay inspired and empowered and feeling like I really was in the right place and I definitely deserved to be there. So without her, I may not have been able to make it as far as I did. So I'm very, very grateful to her and to other people that have been along my path, and particularly women who have really inspired and helped uplift me and encourage me to keep going, even when I didn't necessarily even believe in myself. So I was offered a position at Pitzer about a month before I graduated with my bachelor's degree. So it's where I work now at the Community Engagement Center. And one of the things that I've come to realize was that thinking that I had gone to school like later in life, I was older than many of the other students who were in school. I was a mom. A lot of the other students didn't have parents. I began or didn't have children. I'm sorry. We all have parents. But I began to realize that like many of the things that I thought were part of like challenges for me that had been holding me back or obstacles, I realized that they actually prepared me really well to be on the path that I'm now on. Because unlike other students who would have been a traditional college age, upon graduation, I already had years of work experience that made me very competitive to apply for the positions that I applied for. So there's a lot of ways that I think that some of the things that we traditionally think of as obstacles or challenge for ourselves, like they actually are part of what makes us better, stronger, and part of our assets that we bring to these conversations and to the table. So I've been working at Pitzer now in that position for about 10 years, doing the work that I previously mentioned that our center does, working on social justice issues and with a number of community-based organizations locally and also around the world through Girls Fly and other programs. So in my work there in the last 10 years, I'm really excited and have been very grateful that Pitzer also paid for me to go to graduate school. So they paid for me to get my master's degree, which I got a couple of years ago. I hold a master's degree in higher education administration, and my emphasis is on access and equity in higher education. So getting more people into college and supporting them to be successful once they're there. And now Pitzer's also paying for me to get my PhD. So I'm working on that too. And my kids have been with me. They're 16 and 17 years old now. I've pretty much been in school their entire lives. And one of the things that I think that that's done for us is continued to I'm showing them, I'm modeling through my example how important school is, and not just to learn and to get not just to get the degree, but in our own personal development, who we become as people. And a lot of our education is not just about learning about other topics, but it's also about learning about ourselves and where our passions are and what makes us feel like we can get up in the morning and make a positive difference in the world. So I'm just very, very grateful for all of the mentors that I've had throughout the years that I could look up to. And Gail and I started working with each other about 2 years ago. We were introduced to each other at an award ceremony for Pitzer College alumni, where she received the Distinguished Alumni Award and I received the Young Alumni Award. And we got really excited about what could we potentially do together and work together. And so many of the partnerships that you all are now a part of, and these conversations are part of seeing the blossom of seeds that have been planted for a couple of years now. And so Gail and I have worked really hard together on developing these partnerships, and also in particular in developing the Train the Trainer model. And that was cultivated through years of trainings that I've been through, scholarship and literature that I've been looking at related to equity and education and higher education community-based partnerships, and also in centering like our own self-care, especially as we care for others, which doesn't receive as much attention as it should in terms of helping us sustain the work that we're doing. So that's a little bit about me and how I got here. And I just want to thank you all very much for having me and for the opportunity for me to be able to learn from all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tricia. Thank you. Tricia, can you share with them from your perspective, because Neil Nooksy texts over a question, like what's the kind of the mandate, what's the goal here with all of them and you and I at the end of this training module? They're familiar that there's a conference coming up on our side. They're familiar with the curriculum modules that you were involved with helping to create that. But can you elaborate where we're going with all, this relationship and the opportunities that exist for them because of these communications?
Yeah, so, well, first and foremost, we're hoping that you'll all come visit Pitzer College one day and have a continued relationship with Pitzer College. We would love to host you all on our campus and even have you all come as students if that's something that you're very interested in. So whatever we can do to help support that. But really, I think that one of the main goals that we've had in running this program is so that you all will feel empowered and able to become or continue to develop the skills that you already have as leaders in your own community. So being able to take this model and the lessons that you learn from the Train the Trainer model and apply them with each other in your own communities. Because when we're able to build these even small relationships at the very beginning, that they have a real power to transform the world and to transform each of us, and being able to access and activate the community leaders that you all have access to in your own communities. You have mentors, you have folks who are doing really amazing work, and being able to create those connections and learn from each other will only help each of us further along in our individual and community goals and our goals with each other. So we're hoping that, we're able to encourage all of those important aspects of the Girls Fly program, which is encouraging international experiences and understanding between each other, which we've really been doing a lot lately in these calls, and that's beautiful. Making sure that we're also developing and accessing leadership training and opportunities for ourselves and for each other. Finding out and identifying from each of you what are some of the most important things to your community. Is it developing skills and experience and capacity around financial literacy? Is it potentially increasing women in STEM in your communities? All of those things, any of those things that you define as important, we're hoping that this program gives you a platform and a way to be able to start making those connections and broaden the impacts of what we're doing.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything, Gail?
No, I think you did. You nailed everything. You know, the other part that from the Girls Fly side that we'd like to see added on to that is we want to be supportive of you hosting a gathering on your campus and in your community, similar to what we'll be doing on May the 3rd on Pitzer's campus in our community. And that's actually hosting a Girls Fly Pitzer College, or perhaps in your case, it's a Girls Fly AUF, you know, or Girls Fly AUAF, conference. And for us to be supportive of you and preparing that and having discussions at, where you are at your local level and then at the broader national and global levels. Earlier this week, I had an opportunity to be a guest at USC because of Yiju Wang, who's here right now, on the call, and in their Center for Global Diplomacy. So I'm going to send a link over associated with that, because the information that was presented there by Gwen, we'll be bringing Gwen on in the future in another call. But this is a very clear reason behind what we're doing and the impact. We never know who's watching us or paying attention to what we're doing, including yourselves, because I was able to make reference to information that I learned from you at this symposium at USC with these policymakers and influencers around women in public policy spaces. And they are very intrigued by and wanted to know more about your voices, your message, and who you are and what you're doing, and also how to be supportive of you. So I think that even though these calls right now will be wrapping up over the next couple weeks, and then, for as many of you who are interested, we can resume again in the fall. But we do want you to know that, just as Tricia said, we're here to be supportive of you and to give you access. Yija, did I miss anything regarding the USC piece that would be of value to them? You're on mute. Yija.
Yeah, you think you covered everything, because some of the research and data analysis, they did include some of the countries we're working with right now. So that's
correct.
Really valuable, that part.
And they a big part of what I was hearing presented was the sincerity of wanting to have input from women and girls in your country like you.
Yeah.
The data was based on women and girls leadership and influence in your countries. And they want you in those discussions. So after our May event, when Tricia and Yija and I go back, and our team, the interns as well, and along with President Oliver, when we circle back and reevaluate, okay, what did we accomplish? Not only what did we accomplish this year, but who were the girls or the ladies that were involved in those conversations, and where do we go from here for bigger influence through them? And that's a big, we have lots of opportunities sitting on our porch, that we want to explore. But let me transition into giving an example of another resource that we hope that you can benefit from through this Girls Fly Pitzer College communication, and that's Lisa Tenner. Lisa is an amazing, amazing lady, and like all of you, and so sharing resources, making connections, and using the power of technology and social media to find our voices, to know how to empower one another, and encourage one another and be inspired by one another is why I've invited Lisa to be here. She happens to be my personal book coach as I'm working on my book project. This book project that we're working on right now is associated with a national Girls Fly tour with one of the major bookstores here in the United States, Barnes & Noble, that'll be coming up, launching in the fall. And so Lisa has helped more than several hundred people bring their books to life, and has coached many, including Harvard's medical school department. Lisa, I'll let you elaborate on that some more. but I'll transition it over now to Lisa Tenner. And thank you so much, Lisa, for being here. I think you're on mute, Lisa. We can see you. There you go.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. Gail Sylvia has told me about all of you. She's so proud of the work you're doing. And so it's really an honor to be here with you and share a little bit about my experience. Should I do similar to what I did last time?
Exactly. That'll work really nicely. These ladies will really appreciate and value that.
Okay, great. So often I think in childhood we have sort of an inkling of what we're here to do. And one of the main things that I always saw for myself is that I wanted to be a writer. Even when I was kind of a slow reader, I think I was slightly dyslexic and I just read very slowly. So I was always kind of at the back of the pack when it came to doing those reading comprehension exercises. I don't know if any of you have to do those, but so I read books and I loved books, but I didn't read a ton of books. Both my parents were much more widely read than I was when they were kids. But by high school, I started to become a more voracious reader, I'd say. But even as a young child, I always wanted to write. I wrote a lot of poetry, and then really, when I was looking at colleges, my father, who's an English teacher, and he had when he was very young, he was still in his teens, and he was writing music, composing music, writing lyrics, and writing musicals. And he decided he wanted to marry my mom, and he wanted to start a family, and he felt that his art was not going to support us. So he made a change and went back to school and became an English teacher. And so his big message to us was do something practical. And so when MIT sent me information based on some scores, he said, oh, that's so practical. You'll get a job when you get out of school. And so that was like a big message from my dad. It was do something practical where you can get a job and, not be sort of unsure where your living was coming from. So whether that was a good message or not, jury's out, but it worked for me in the sense that I studied management. I studied management information systems in particular as an undergrad. And the focus on that was largely, we studied marketing and other things, but the biggest focus was on management information systems, on computer programming, really, with like high level languages. And I quickly realized when I got into the field that that was not something that I loved, nor was it particularly something I was super skilled at. So I ended up, after a few years, going back to school. I went back to MIT, to the Sloan School of Management, got my master's in management, and focused on marketing. But I should say, as an undergrad, every single semester I took writing courses, and they were my most favorite courses. And I never gave up on the writing. I always did some on the side. So I would take writing classes, especially after I moved back to the Boston area and was after graduate school. I always took some writing classes, poetry classes, and fed that creative part of me. And then after graduate school, I worked in marketing for just a few months, realized that wasn't for me either. And then it was sales, really. That wasn't for me. And so I ran a nonprofit organization for 10 years, and I loved the work. And one of the things that I did there was I wrote our annual reports, I wrote our newsletters. So I got to do a lot of writing, which I enjoyed a lot. Eventually got an idea for a book that had nothing to do with my work, but it became the ultimate guide to transforming anger. And I first worked on that book. I really didn't know what I was doing, and I gave it to friends to give me feedback. And they gave me feedback, and one of my friends in particular, and it wasn't always the most positive feedback. It was kind feedback, but it wasn't like, wow, this is a great book. And then one of my friends had already co-written a few books, and she also is a cartoonist. And she said, I think you have something here, but I think it needs work, and I'd love to work with you. So we worked together, And we got a lot of rejections over the years after we wrote a book proposal and sent it out to agents. And then, but we got good feedback kind of to help us do better and better at what we were doing. And one piece of feedback was we needed an anger expert on the team. So we eventually found one, and the three of us worked together, and the book was published. So 7 years after I had my original idea, it became a published book. And it was a wonderful experience. But then I realized that the book was about anger, and I realized I didn't really want to be working with people in their anger. It wasn't much fun when we started doing workshops. And I realized I wanted to help them work with the creative process and with writing and editing. So I created a website. It was kind of still early on in the website days. So I think that was helpful for me over time, that Google sent me a lot of traffic to my website because it was sort of early that I got started. And as Gail Sylvia mentioned, I was invited to be on the faculty of Harvard Medical School's publishing course, thanks to my publicist from the first book. He was on the faculty and teaching public relations, PR, and he asked the director of the course, Dr. Julie Silver, do you need anybody to lead any of the writing classes? Do you need anybody for a workshop? And she said yes. And so they brought me in, and that was something like 14 years ago. So it's been a long time, and a wonderful way that I've met a lot of my clients who are writing health books or self-help books, psychology books. And, sometimes you can try all these things to market your work or get the word out about what you're doing. And then sometimes things just fall into your lap that are really wonderful. So you just keep taking a step forward. And then, there were many times where especially my husband would say to me, I don't know if this is going to work, because, we needed to make money but it did work. And so, I think sticking with it was a big lesson for me.
Thank you, Lisa. Can you share with everyone your advice associated with why they need to consider, finding their voice, especially, if anyone has an interest in, being published or being an author of a book or a memoir or a specific topic? Why, can you give them some words of encouragement along with some tools that they might be able to access at their university level?
Yes, yeah. And I think I'll take this in 3 parts. So remind me if I forget one of the parts. So the first part may be like about what the writing can do for you to get your message out. And the other is, you mentioned resources at their schools. And the third was the importance of finding your voice. So I would say, writing is such a wonderful way to clarify your ideas and get more clear what you actually want to say and have to say. And also to get feedback from others. Let's say you're blogging, you will get comments and you'll realize, oh, this is the piece that people are most interested in. This is the piece that they have the most questions about. So it really helps you understand the people that you want to communicate with. And writing a blog or a book or articles will help you have a greater impact. You can reach more people than you might be able to reach if you're, just doing some work one-on-one or even doing local work. It lets you reach a much larger group and often have a greater impact. And it can also help you network. Even now, if you start a blog and you start interviewing experts in your field, that's a great way to start to have more powerful connections with people who are kind of ahead of you in the field, who can mentor you and who may even hire you or introduce you to people who might hire you. So there are lots of wonderful things that can come out of being a writer and writing. I wrote some other notes. Let's see. Oh, and inspire others and share your gifts. So those are just a few reasons that writing can be so powerful. So the next piece is about finding your voice. And I think, sometimes there's a question, well, what does that mean? And it's really like how you connect with the material that you're teaching and about how you connect with your readers. So for instance, with the Ultimate Guide to Transforming Anger, we tried to put some fun into it and engage people's creativity. So that was part of the voice, was somewhat playful, because people are often uncomfortable with anger and they don't want to admit they're angry, or they don't know how to deal with it. So adding humor, we felt, was kind of healing and would help people relax around it and be more creative with how they dealt with it. You might also be, very scientific in your voice. That might be with a lot of sort of quoting research, and that might be a voice for a certain kind of book, or a certain kind of blog. Or you might be very nurturing, so there are all kinds of ways you can connect with your reader through your voice. And part of the voice is the stories you choose to share, even if it's not fiction. You might share true stories, or if it's a memoir. And so voice is something that you play with and experiment with and discover over time, I think, as you write more and get some feedback on the writing too. But it is something that feels authentic to you. It shouldn't feel like you're trying too hard. It should come naturally, like that's your voice, but you might accentuate or stress a certain part of your personality. So maybe in day-to-day communications, you're one way, but your writing voice, you really draw on a particular aspect of your personality, whether it's your wit or your keen observations of people, whatever it is for you. So how do you draw on some resources then for helping you with that? And I would say, see if first of all, take writing classes at your universities. I took a writing class every single semester, and I was so glad I did. That was really the most fun I had, I would say, in terms of my classes. And another thing is sometimes many schools have like a writing center where you can get help and get feedback on your writing. Or let's say you're writing something for the school newspaper or the school blog. That would be a great opportunity to hone your writing skills. And maybe there are people, either the editor of the paper or the blog, or the editor, or maybe somebody in the writing center who can edit your work to give you some feedback on it, so you really learn a lot from it. So those are some options.
Thank you, Lisa. Questions for Lisa, please? Is anyone planning to write or have a dream or desire to be an author?
Or a blogger?
Or a blogger. Maybe
I love to write, and like in the future I have some books to publish. So one of my dream is to become a good author in the future. So I have a friend, so I each day or each once a week when I get free, so I have I give 1 hour to write something, then I will send to him. He will edit that and then send me back. So I keep on working on my writing skills. So I have seen much, I have improved much, but still I need a lot of work to get to be a perfect author or a good author. So I'm trying.
Well, that's wonderful that you're devoting time every week to it and getting feedback and incorporating that feedback. Those are all the things you should be doing. So you're doing the right stuff and it will come.
I have a good friend and he motivates me a lot, because he is the author himself. So he keeps on motivating me to keep on working. So that's a good help for me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
Yeah, the same with me. I am also in love with writing. It is for me easy to write in Persian because it is my first language. And I'm trying to develop my writing in English language as well, because it is international. Whenever you write, you may have more audience to read your thoughts. So last summer, during the summer, I have tried to write an article. I and with one of my friends, we worked together on one article, kind of research type, about the Afghanistan who are Sikh people who are the minorities live in Afghanistan, what the difficulties do they face. And we wrote that article and we have published that in Global Wise page. They have published our work. And when I came to our university, most of our my teacher, they have read it and they were like appreciating, wow, Mina, you did a really great job. I was like surprised, how did you know? And they said, we are kind of member having this subscribe the Global Voice, like a really big page. So we got notification from that and we got the article, and I was like really inspired. And after that, I'm thinking more to everything that I am interested in, and to like get improve in this skill and to write much more and to send my voice further beyond the borders.
That is wonderful. I'm so happy for you. And you know, there are two kinds of thinking on whether, if English isn't your first language, you might want to write in Persian first and then translate it. And that might be easier so your thoughts can flow and then translate it. And sometimes people say over time, they start out that way. And then as they write more and more, eventually they can just start in English. But that might be helpful. I don't know, maybe that's how you did it to begin with.
Yeah, thank you. That might be helpful as well. Yeah, I'm trying in the future maybe.
Mina, where did you publish your article?
Global
Website?
Yeah. Global. I may share the link in this group chat.
You can try to share the link.
Yeah,
Great. Share
and
the-
everyone can participate.
So earlier during the introductions, I think it was Rehab, she made reference to her interest in being involved in social justice issues. So this could be a way for you to get your voice out there by just writing an article, because so often, we show up in person or in class, in a variety of ways, but documenting through writing and influencing through writing is really goes beyond our awareness. And that's what Mina was just saying, is that she didn't know those professors would have known about her article, and what you're doing, Rehab, other people will be interested in knowing about. So something to consider.
Yeah. I actually, when it comes to writing, I have so much to say about it that I don't even know from where to start, because I had a stereotypically sad journey when it comes to writing. Like, up until middle school, I used to read at least 5 books a week and write at least 10 pages a day. I was very into it. It was something that I could not go a day without doing. And I don't know, somewhere between my teenage crisis and the beginning of my high school years, I fell into a rut where everything stopped. I stopped reading and I stopped writing. I was very uninspired. I was going through some personal issues when it comes to realizing stuff about myself, my identity, my role in the world, and how much of my energy as a teenager was wasted when I could have been using it and investing it in social issues. But I wasn't allowed to do that because I was 13, 14 years old. I was angry. I was still a student, a minor citizen, and of course, it made me frustrated. So, as I said, everything stopped. I couldn't write about anything up until I reached
the age where I had to go to college. I got my baccalaureate, but since I chose to go to a liberal arts college, I had to write. I had writing courses in my first semester, and it was very, um, I don't know, my mind was a bit numb to it. I didn't have the passion I used to have, and I was kind of feel every time I would take a pen or start typing in my computer, I would feel some sort of uh, shame, and at the same time there was some nostalgia for my older self, the one that was very active, who was an A+ student, who would write instead of breathe and stuff like that. But I ended up passing the class, the writing class I was taking with an A+, and thank God. I'm very grateful for that, but it wasn't the same thing. But at the same time, the more I reflect on it, I'm kind of grateful it happened in a way, especially when it comes to the fact that I also stopped reading books. I didn't stop reading everything. Instead, I was reading lots of articles and newspapers. I was exploring topics that I wasn't really interested in when I was a middle schooler who would write and read every day. Topics that had to do with taboos and social issues and religion and everything that I did touch on before as a teenager, but not as intensely as I did in my college years. And I realized that my compulsive writing and reading made me, at that time when I was 14 years, 15 years old, it made me think that I was um, ahead of many people my age, because that's what everyone would tell me. My parents would see me reading and writing all the time, and they would tell me, Rehab, you really are doing things that people your age can't do. And I would believe them. And I wouldn't say that it got to my head, because it wasn't really the case. I was kind of an insecure child, but the more I talked to people and I would see them completely uninterested in the topics I would write about, the more I would think that I was actually alone in those interests. But that's that all those readings, all those books I read, all those articles and stories I wrote didn't improve me as a person. I was still a very racist, homophobic, and person, and I also had lots of internalized misogyny in myself. And these are things that I only realized once I finished high school. I Because there is this common misconception in Morocco, and I think also in the entire MENA region, that someone who is a a regular reader and someone who writes a lot is kind of an intellectual, someone who is very aware of social issues and ahead of their time and whatnot, etc. I think you're all familiar with this stereotype. And I used to think the same way, in a bit also about myself, without letting it get to my head. And I realized just a few years ago that it's wrong. There are many people who spend their days reading and writing, but it doesn't improve them as people. They are still close-minded, and sometimes it's even worse. Those things they read or write about just reinforce those judgments they already have in their minds. And I think that was what was going on with me. And that's why when I say I feel like it's a blessing that I stopped reading and writing at that time, it's because of this. Um, I think that if the old me carried on with what she was doing, I would have grown into a very like judgy and um, conservative person, something that now I despise. Uh, so yeah, this is just a general comment on on writing and what you two said earlier.
Really sincerely appreciate you being willing to share that. And I think that you're speaking to actually a part of the core message of why Girls Fly exist is that they're a part, we evolve through our life, our lives, at least we grow and change and influences affect us internally and externally. And then there are parts of us that we put on mute, but we don't know or take the time or have a safe space to even share what you just did. Lisa, I'd really be curious to hear from you a response or your thoughts to what Rehab said, along with everyone else. And I know we're getting close to our time to wrap up, but you shared some very important parts of you that are really worthy of, and you have everyone's full attention. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you have everyone's full attention right now. So I think Lisa, any thoughts? And then
those are such powerful insights. And I almost wondered, I don't know if this is accurate, but I almost wondered if it didn't feel safe to explore these things in writing, like you needed to explore them in other ways. There's something intimidating about putting things in writing and exploring things in writing. And, so I just wondered about that. And I do wonder if journaling could be a way to explore things, or else, the other thing that comes to mind is sometimes just finding some we talked about in the previous call, just finding some writing exercises, some writing prompts. And so it's not coming from, here, this is what I want to write about, and I'm going to write this, blah, 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 but to sort of bypass that linear mind and kind of that part that wants to control things and see what comes from our hearts. And sometimes a writing prompt can do that, because then, it's not about like we were trying to say this message that we are so sure about, but the prompt can lead us to new ground. And I think the best writing is often something where the writer maybe had some ideas of what they wanted to express when they started to write, but it's like they came to it with an open mind, so that or we come to it with an open mind as a writer, where we start with something, but then we discover new things as we're writing. And that's some of the best writing, because the reader takes that journey with us. We're not like trying to control how the reader interprets this. It's like we're on this journey, and that can be really powerful.
Thank you. I think the thing with so far I've just been procrastinating when it comes to writing, because I'm afraid of discovering that I'm not really as good as I was before, which is honestly the truth. I am really not as good as I was before. I don't connect to the words I use as much as I did. My thoughts cannot be transformed into sentences in ink as smoothly as they did before. And I think a big part of this is because I don't interpret these words the same way anymore. They don't ring, they don't have the same rhythm or the same lyricism in my head as they used to have. I associate different things with the concepts I want to write about. So I'm still in the process of getting familiar with these concepts, and later on getting familiar with transforming these concepts into words. Sometimes you are really connected to a certain topic. You really have this, a part of you is just en fusion. I don't know how to say it in English. It's like mixed. It is a part of you is just heavily engaged with a certain cause, but still, when you take your pen or you try to type about it in your computer, it's just a blank page. So far I'm still struggling with that, and my procrastination keeps me from practicing, and practice is the only thing that can make a writer a writer. So
yeah, you might play with writing stuff that where you don't feel as much of a charge. Like I have to express this right. I have to express this well because I'm so passionate about it. But maybe just to like play with like some writing exercises or just be a little playful about it and don't worry so much about the end product. Like just I'm going to take one day a week or one day a month and just like for a half hour just let myself do some writing and instead of the blank page, sometimes that's where it's good to have some exercises. So I mentioned a book to the other group. It's an old book now, but it's called Writing Down the Bones by Natalie Goldberg. And it was the book that I enjoyed a lot when I was in college. And my friend and I would go to a cafe in Harvard Square in Cambridge, and we would read one little chapter and then do the exercises at the end of the chapter. And so it's a way you could play with your writing and not have, it doesn't have to be tied to your social justice right now. It might just be a gift you give yourself. And it doesn't have to be, this is the hardest thing for all of us. Like it doesn't have to be an amazing product that you create in your writing every time you write. You can write for yourself, write for the love of writing, and just see what comes. And some of it you'll never use again. And some of it you'll say, wow, that's powerful. I want to share this somehow. Maybe I'll do a guest blog on my friend's blog, a guest post, or something like that.
Thank you so much. I will look that up.
Anyone else? Hey, Tricia, I see you just shared a quote. Hey, thank you. Jeannie, any questions or comments? Want to thank Lisa and everyone, unless anybody has any other comments or questions. Our hour is up. I just want to respect everyone's time.
No, thank you for sharing. I know like to get better at writing, you just have to practice and like revise and get comments. So that's something I'm working on, and I'm glad you shared about like just like producing something for not like the production sake, but just producing for the, I guess, the journey or the experience of writing. And so yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I also wanted to share, Rahab, after the comments that you shared with us and made, I'm not sure if you're already familiar with the writing of bell hooks and Audre Lorde, but if you're not, I highly encourage you to seek out that writing, because I think that they also talk about how the revolutions in justice that we're hoping to see and bring about in the world really do start with the inside revolutions inside of each of us, and that you've been on that journey. And I think that they are just very, they're great at articulating that and sharing the rawness and the vulnerability of just starting, and bringing your voice out. So if you're not familiar, I highly encourage those authors, writers for you.
Thank you so much. Can you please share their names?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Lisa, thank you for being with us today. Really appreciate your time. Ladies, I hope you found this helpful for you as a way to just look at the opportunities to lead, whether it's leading with your voice and writing, the same way that you are when you show up in different spaces. Next week, we'll have to confirm by email the time with everyone. If 11 o'clock works, it's really lovely having the combination of the different regions of the world on at the same time. But if the other times work better, let us know, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Hey, and also, is everybody getting the email? Are you getting the emails from us?
Yes.
Just kind of a nod of heads. Okay, just want to make sure you're getting those. All right. Thank you very much. Lisa, again, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tonight's call. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for connecting us with the beautiful ladies. We enjoyed hearing their stories. So we are so much grateful of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was great.
Good to see everybody. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Something fun.